Hey there, fantasy fans. Today we're diving deep into the mystical, mysterious, and sometimes downright terrifying world of magic in Westeros. Now, if you've been watching or reading Game of Thrones and thought, hey, where's all the magic? Don't worry, you're not alone. Magic in A Song of Ice and Fire isn't as flashy as, say, Harry Potter's world, but when it shows up, it's a game changer. Whether it's bringing dragons back to life, raising the dead, or just causing all sorts of chaos, magic is a force that no one can afford to ignore. So let's explore the magical mysteries of Westeros and Essos and see how this ancient power shapes the world we love. All right, first up, let's talk about magic in Westeros, or rather, the lack of it, at least at the start. The folks in Westeros aren't exactly running around casting spells. In fact, most of them think magic is just some old wives' tale. But as we'll see, magic in Westeros is more like a sleeping dragon, dangerous, unpredictable, and ready to wake up when you least expect it. The Maester, who are basically the medieval scientists and scholars of Westeros, are not big fans of magic. They're all about logic, reason, and cold, hard facts. Magic? That's for fools and fairy tales. Only 1 in 100 Maester even bother to study it, and they get a special Valyrian steel link in their chain to show it. Take Maester Lewin, for example. He's a firm believer that magic is dead, extinct, just like the dragons used to be. Poor guy didn't see the fire-breathing lizards making a comeback. But here's the thing, magic isn't really dead. It's just been sleeping. There's evidence of ancient magic all over Westeros. Let's start with the Children of the Forest. These mysterious ancient beings were basically the OG magic users. They had a bunch of powers, but two of the most important ones are green seeing and warging. Green seeing is the ability to see into the past, present, and sometimes the future through visions, often by connecting with nature, like looking through the eyes of a tree. It's a rare gift, usually associated with the Children of the Forest, but some humans, like Bran Stark, have it too. Then there's warging, which is a bit different. Wargs can enter the minds of animals, controlling them as if they were their own bodies. It's an ancient power, passed down among the first men, and some people even manage to warg into other humans, though that's much trickier. And let's not forget about the wall. This giant barrier of ice isn't just a massive construction project, it's infused with ancient magic. This magic is meant to keep out the White Walkers and other dark creatures. The wall stands as a testament to the old spells and wards that still linger in Westeros, even if most people have forgotten about them. While magic in Westeros has been napping over in Essos, it's been quietly bubbling away, just waiting for the right moment to boil over. And that moment comes when a certain someone hatches 3 little dragon eggs. Yep, we're talking about Daenerys Targaryen, the mother of dragons. When she brings those dragon eggs to life, it's like hitting the reset button on magic. Suddenly, the world's magical energy gets a serious boost. Dragons are basically walking, flying, fire-breathing batteries of magic. Wherever they go, magic gets stronger. But why are dragons so important? Well, dragons are more than just big, scaly, flying lizards. They're tied directly to the magic of the world. In the days of old Valyria, dragon lords used dragons as both weapons and symbols of power, using their bond with these creatures to perform incredible feats of sorcery. When the dragons died out, magic started to fade from the world. But with the birth of Daenerys' dragons, we see magic making a comeback. Suddenly, spells that barely flickered to life are roaring back with renewed power, and practitioners who were once mere charlatans find themselves wielding real, potent magic again. Now let's talk about some of the darker types of magic lurking in the shadows of Essos. Literally. One of the most notorious forms of magic in the East comes from the shadowbenders of Ashai, and if you're thinking, that sounds creepy, you're absolutely right. Shadow binding is the art of manipulating shadows, and it's as eerie as it sounds. Melisandre, one of the most famous shadowbinders we know, used this magic to birth a shadow assassin, a creature made from darkness that can kill on command. This kind of magic is powerful, but it's also extremely dangerous and unpredictable. It's tied to the forces of light and shadow, playing with the balance of life and death. And speaking of playing with life and death, we've got blood magic. This is one of the oldest and darkest forms of magic around, and it's all about using life force, often in the form of blood, to fuel powerful spells. The catch? Blood magic usually comes with a heavy price. Remember when Miri Maz-Dur used blood magic to save Drogo? That backfired spectacularly, leaving Drogo in a vegetative state and ultimately leading to his death. Blood magic isn't something you dabble in lightly, it's potent, but the consequences are almost always disastrous. But the real players in the magical game aren't just individuals. They're entire groups and forces that wield magic with serious consequences for everyone around them. First up, we've got the Red Priests of Arhlur, also known as the Lord of Light. These guys are the religious zealots of the magic world, and they're all about fire, visions, and oh yeah, bringing people back from the dead. Melisandre is probably the most famous of the Red Priests, and she's got quite the arsenal. Fire magic, shadow binding, and the ability to see the future in flames. The Red Priests believe that all magic comes from Rattler, the god of light, fire, and life, who's locked in an eternal struggle against the great other, the god of darkness, cold, and death. They see their magic as divine gifts, tools to fight the darkness. Fire magic is their go-to, whether it's lighting swords on fire, seeing visions in the flames, or using fire to protect the living from the dead. But one of the most jaw-dropping examples of their power is resurrection. Thoros of Myr, another Red Priest, repeatedly resurrects Beric Dondarrion, bringing him back from the dead over and over again. This power is rare, but it shows just how deep the Red Priest's connection to life and death runs. Next, let's hop over to Braavos and check out the Faceless Men, the world's most elite assassins who are basically magical shapeshifters. These guys don't just kill people, they take on their identities thanks to a combination of face-swapping rituals and magical glamours. The Faceless Men use a type of magic that's all about disguise and illusion. They literally wear the faces of the dead, using both physical and magical means to change their appearance. But it's not just about slapping on a new face. The process involves preparing the face with special rituals and using a magical connection to fully assume the identity of the person they're impersonating. This magic is subtle and eerie, allowing the Faceless Men to blend in anywhere, becoming anyone and making them nearly impossible to track down. But if we're talking about terrifying magic, we've got to mention the White Walkers. These ancient creatures are the embodiment of dark magic, with abilities that include cryomancy, that's fancy talk for ice magic, and necromancy, raising the dead. The White Walkers are basically the stuff of nightmares, creatures of ice and darkness, created by the children of the forest to fight against the first men, only to become a greater threat themselves. Their cryomancy allows them to control ice and cold, bringing winter with them wherever they go. But their most terrifying ability is necromancy, the power to raise the dead. The Night King, their leader, can turn the fallen into wights, mindless undead soldiers that fight for his cause. This magic is powerful and nearly unstoppable, making the White Walkers the ultimate threat to all living beings in Westeros. Now let's dig even deeper into the ancient roots of magic, with some of the lost and nearly forgotten forms of sorcery that still have a huge impact on the world. First, there's Valyrian magic. The Valyrians were the original dragon lords, using magic to tame and control their dragons and forge the legendary Valyrian steel. But their magic wasn't all about fire and dragons. They also had some seriously dark practices involving blood and fire. Valyrian sorcery allowed them to achieve incredible feats, like forging Valyrian steel weapons, which are not only extremely sharp and strong, but also imbued with magical properties that make them deadly to both men and the undead. The Doom of Valyria, where the entire civilization went up in flames, is believed by some to have been a magical catastrophe, proof that even the most powerful magic can turn on its users. The Valyrians' control over dragons and fire was unmatched, but it came with a price, and their magic ultimately led to their downfall. The Rhoynar were famous for their water wizards, who could command the power of the river itself. During their war with the Valyrians, these wizards called upon massive waves and whirlpools to fight against the Dragon Lords, holding their own against the might of Valyria for a time. But in the end, even their powerful water magic wasn't enough to stop the dragons. The Rhoynar's magic is mostly lost now, but its legacy lives on, especially in the Dornish people who descended from them. The Roynar's story is a reminder that magic, while powerful, isn't invincible. It's shaped by the world around it, just as much as it shapes the world in return. So, what does all this magic mean for the world of A Song of Ice and Fire? Well, it's clear that magic isn't just some sideshow. It's a powerful force that can shape the fate of entire kingdoms. From the children of the forest to the White Walkers, and from the dragons of Valyria to the Red Priests, magic is woven into the very fabric of the world. It's been dormant for centuries, but now it's back with a vengeance. And with Bran Stark as the new three-eyed raven and Daenerys dragons still soaring through the skies, the future of Westeros is bound to be filled with even more magical surprises. So, stay tuned, because in this world, magic might just be the ultimate game changer. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this magical breakdown, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our next deep dive into the world of Westeros. And let us know in the comments, what's your favorite magical moment in Game of Thrones? See you next time.